actually was a good.
Sometimes people fool you, and maybe there aren't many there, so you end up at the back.
You know what, they made me pretty close to being done. They were knocking that out, that's what caused the fire alarm to go off.
For her.
Well, I just wondered,
did you look over there?
Yeah, I stopped in there,
The
looked at
afternoon
the
run.
pit house there, looks like it's done.
Yeah.
Well, they couldn't tell,
Life is
yeah,
good
it's
again.
going on down there.
What did you prefer?
Well, they just moved the tables, you know.
Is magic stick trick.
What we were worried about, which is good, that's better
I
than
haven't talked
thinking
to her,
about.
I was not down, I
Well,
haven't
that
been-
had
been
taken
back
them all out
home
in the
since I
little
left
parking lot and
at
everything, haven't been
whatever
down
time
there
this
for
morning, right.
days, you know.
Yeah, when,
Hopefully,
yeah, nothing
it
was going
went
on with
well.
that.
Cooper, have a good day. I did. Enjoy
We
it.
walked around Paul said the other day,
That's true.
collusion.
It's 6:30.
Is Kathy coming?
She said she was gonna be here, but 6:30, we can start timely, since, Jacob's itching to start.
All right, 6:30, we'll call the meeting to order. If you want to stand for the pledge, I know it's just us, but we'll recite the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Mr. Jacob?
All right. So, start. Handouts.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, first, thank you for coming. Really, the purpose of this hearing is basically to go through kind of the budget process, some of the budget principles, and then kind of go into budget, 2026 budget itself, and then look at how that compares to 2025 budget. So before I start, I kind of want to talk a little bit about the budget process and kind of what it is, and then go into the budget principles. So the budget process itself is something that I do every year around this time. It's something that's determined by statute, administered by DLGF, and it can change every 2 years or so depending on legislation. Really the purpose of it is to establish some sense of a maximum every year when you're looking at the last 6 months of the current year and then the next entire full year. The goal of it is then to, receive your appropriations at the end of the year after the DLGF reviews what you've submitted, around this time. And then once you get that done, the process is as follows. You have this hearing, and then there's a workshop, and then a public hearing at the September board, and and then you have an adoption in October, and then the DLGF looks through and approves it in November or December. When I'm looking through it, I've got, there's a conservative approach, and so what that means is I'm looking at the expenditure pieces, and I'm looking at projecting out expenditures for the remainder of the 6 months of the current year, and then for the next 12 months. I'm essentially looking at 18 months of unknowns, for that matter. So, like, December 31st, 2026, from a budget standpoint, is a long way away. I mean, a lot can happen from there, both from utilities, insurance, maintenance, personnel, you name it. Benefits can increase, and you don't really know what that is. So it's important to project those at a high amount to protect the district in the long term. Now, the opposite goes from revenues. You want to project those low because you want to be able to collect more in the long term, really protect the district long term. When looking at school finance in terms of the budget for our 2026 budget, you've got 4 different funds. You've got the education fund, the debt service fund, the operations fund, and the rainy day fund. And each one of them has different revenue sources that are determined by statute. They can only be used for certain things. Some main sources of revenue for the education fund, it would be your ADM count for the year, for example. That occurs twice a year, February and October. Your assessed value is the main driving factor for your debt service and your operations property tax levy. Your miscellaneous taxes, those only go to your debt service and your operations fund. And then the transfers is the only revenue source really for your rainy day fund. And that usually comes from your education fund or operations.
One question. Just the education fund, since we have that, that group, all that money just goes strictly to that, right? For the education fund group, is that how that gets filtered money into that one?
To the educational foundation, no.
Yeah,
We're
is that
completely
anything to do with that, or is that
That's
completely
totally
separate
separate.
into this? Okay.
The Education Foundation is a not-for-profit.
Yeah, I didn't know if it had to go to this, because it's
No.
kind of like we did for the FFA when they did their, okay. Sorry, thank you.
Yeah,
I just was wondering.
That's a separate not-for-profit organization.
Okay.
So it's a 501c3.
Okay, totally separate. Okay, that's right. All right, thank you, sorry.
That's a good question.
And it's a benefit because you can do a lot of receiving of funds to the foundation, where doing that with the school system gets a little screwy.
Because he can't write
Because
checks to me, like saying I want a $500, but education foundation can because.
Yeah, like gift cards.
Right,
A lot of people think, oh, why does the school give out gift cards?
Yeah.
Well, State Board of Accounts does not authorize that.
Get a
So-
liquor store down here.
Exactly, because it's not a traceable thing, but the Ed Foundation can do
Yeah.
those things, they have a lot more liberty on what they can
Right,
do,
yes.
as long as they audit their books.
I was just wondering if that was separate, so yeah.
Well, and another thing that the Ed Foundation is able to do, like a memorial gift,
Okay,
we've had a couple of, like Mr. Thompson when he died, and I can't think of the last one. Yeah, but anyway, they can give the money to the Education Foundation. It's tax deductible. Then the Education Foundation can write, in the case of Mr. Thompson, it went to athletics and stuff,
oh, okay,
so.
yeah, okay.
Sometimes grant writing has to go through like a foundation versus through us. We're not allowed to apply, but we work with the foundation and apply, and then the funds we receive would go toward certain programs.
Okay. I knew there was a whole bunch of stuff. Thank you, sir. Sorry.
So, I guess now for really the 2026 budget, what this will cover is what I'm looking at advertising, and so the numbers that are here, remember, I'm projecting expenditures high, so this is going to be projected high as an attempt to protect the district long term, right? The DOTF will look at these and send a what's called 1782 notice later in the year, so the numbers will be adjusted. However, we have to advertise these high in order to protect ourselves. So the education fund, I have $22,884,183. The debt service fund, I have $8,410,288. Operations fund, I have $7,332,281. And the rainy day fund, I have $675,000.
Excuse me, do you have what our budget was or what we spent this year for those amounts, or for those different funds? So we can kind of see a comparison as to...
what we spent this year?
Well, or
2025, I think.
yeah, or like the 2025,
I was gonna get to that.
Oh, okay, I didn't see that here, okay, sorry.
No, you're right. When comparing that, it's very close. The total advertised budget for the 2026 is $39,301,752. As far as what was advertised last year, rainy day, we had advertised $750,000. Debt service was $7,584,913. Education fund was $22,871,840. And operations fund was $9,645,600.
Would you repeat that one, please?
$9,645,600.
Thank you.
Really some key pieces to that. I don't have 2026 assessed values right now. That's a pretty integral piece to calculating the budget. Johnson County and Morgan County always is pretty good about getting those on time. Johnson County is always really bad about it. No, they're very, very bad about it. There was one year I had to wait until November, and then they came back in January and then redid it. It was mainly because of TIF disputes. But, yeah. Just remember that those budget amounts do get adjusted downwards. Again, that's just to protect us long term. So once assessed values come in, ADM isn't concrete right now. Once those things come in, I will get more of a sense of what revenues will be, but that will be later on down the road. The rainy day fund is going to stay at what the fund balance will be at the end of the year. The transfers to operations will be max, so max 15%. That's if there are any questions.
And the 2025 numbers are what we advertised, not what we spent, correct?
Correct, yeah.
This is a really helpful way to lay it out, thank you.
Yeah.
So, a couple things I'll jump to and reinforce. Judy, you're a great setup person for the comparison piece. You know, like the operations fund, you know, the 2025 budget was $9 million. And you see the operations fund for the proposed budget is significantly less. So that's starting the preparation of the impact of Senate Bill 1. Not what we foresee come 2028, but we're going to start taking that financial hit. ADM, we did our first snapshot today, which is not always very reliable. Of course, we got to wait till September 15th, but we're at 2064 right now. 2064, which we talked about budgeting for this year, and we were looking at either 2070 or as low as 2060. So we talked about that in the spring. So we're sort of close. Before school today, we had 2,100 listed as our enrollment, which never pans out because you need the live bodies to show up. You think of K-12, how many people that don't register for school, there's usually a reason they do that. Either they're leaving, or sometimes they're lazy, whatever, but you never count on people until, I always say, let's count the live bodies in the seats, because the paperwork from last year to this year rarely transfers over apples to apples.
What was the total of today?
2064. Now, again, from today to September 15th is a long journey, and that number can change. Typically, that would go up a little, I would think, but since we have such a large number of out-of-district, that could go down a little too. Not sure. It all depends. So, but it's not significantly lower, so that's good. Like if we did this today and we saw the numbers and it was 2030, I'd say we might have a problem here. But if you think about it, roughly $8,000 a kid, 30 kids, that's a lot of money. That's $240,000 right there. But we're not in that situation. So if we can get to September 15th, ADM should be fine. We'll know that. We'll go right into bargaining. But then the next worry is then February 1st. And the good news is you have kids that want to graduate mid-semester. The bad news is they don't count for ADM in the spring as they graduate. So we had like 13 kids last year. That was great, right? We had our early graduation. It was a good ceremony, but 13 times 4,000, that much money just walked out the window. So you don't really talk about that publicly because that sounds very cold-hearted. Like, why does this kid graduate? That cost us. That doesn't sound right. So just sharing those couple things. The rainy day fund, it's up to $675, but as Jacob mentioned, before Senate Bill 1, we were looking at continually building that a little bit at a time every year, but this loss in local property taxes is going to really hurt us in trying to put any money in the savings. So our goal is to hold on to this and as best we can. If that makes sense. So I don't think I said anything different than what you said. I just try to hit a couple key points that is keeping Jacob up at night.
And really, I mean, as far as just small or pop-up things that happen, there's not a lot of stuff around here that needs to be fixed, right? I mean,
No major items. We try to include anything potentially major in the bonds, right? Like the HVAC controls.
yes.
Right? No one thinks about that, but, okay, that was like $200,000. We want to make sure we have that, set the budget. But unless something breaks that we're not prepared for, which, that's why you call it rainy day,
Yeah.
but we just don't have a rainy day to use. If we went ahead and tapped into that, and let's say we had to use that for HVAC controls, we'd probably get a call back from DUAB to say, hey, you were supposed to keep building that up. That was your plan. you touched it. What are you doing? So, we're really gonna try to not touch that.
Have another meeting, won't you?
Yeah. Yes.
So basically, anything that we would have additional revenue or anything with, I mean, this is all going to have to go to operations till we see, you know.
It has to go to operations, and that's where the cap for the ad fund is at 15%. And right now, we're at, what, 8.5?
Yeah, around there.
Something like that. So we'll have to literally take off the top and move it over so that we don't have to, you know, we can absorb the impact of what we're losing initially here in operations, which is manageable right now, but in '28, that may not be manageable. That's why, you know, I talked to some other people, and I agree, more than likely, hopefully we'll see some changes, because there's some people that are gonna take some massive hits before 2028, but you still have to plan for what the rules are right now.
Right.
So, we can hope, but everyone knows that hope's not a strategy. So, we will plan accordingly and then adjust, hopefully, when our legislators realize that they have done more damage than good and saving a few nickels where it's hurting the tax receivable entities, truly.
Remind me what our enrollment was last fall.
Last fall, it was 2110.42. So our enrollment was a lot higher, but then in the spring, it was 2063. So it literally just moved over. Now, kindergarten is only like 130 kids. Our second grade is only like 125. And first grade is 133, and those are the numbers as of today. I etched them in my head because I knew we'd talk about it. But we're just under 400 kids at the elementary, which is small, like 390.
4 or 5.
Yeah, something like that, where, you know, the intermediate building, which has our largest two classes, third grade's at 182, and fourth grade is at 178, I think, 74, something like that, but they're at 509. So think about it, three grades, one's at 395, let's say, and the other one's at 509, literally. I mean, so there's a big disparity there. And then the middle school's like at 514, and the high school's at 630 something. And, you know, they're over 600 because there's 4 grades, right? So, middle school's at 514, I think I said. Yeah, so intermediate and middle school are close to the same numbers. And our K2 is just small. So if those numbers continue, I had a parent call me today, upset about our traffic out on 300 and 252, and I'm like, first day of school, man, come on. She's worried though her daughter's starting to drive. She's worried about all the accidents that could happen, that have happened.
We're happy to ride the bus.
And, you know, this place is booming. And I said, well, it actually isn't. And I gave her the enrollment piece as far as just the changes in enrollment or lack thereof. We've only increased about 120, 150 kids since I think I started in 2011 as superintendent. I mean, we were like 1940, 1950. We weren't much of a difference, and now we're, you know, 2064, and we might have been a little lower than that. Maybe it was like 1920 or something, but, you know, 100, 150 kids over the past, you know, what, 15, 14 years? That's not a big growth. And again, I know I've talked about the water and sewage being tapped out here at Trafalgar. So until there's more water and sewer availability, you're not going to get good.
Is any of the TIF money, is that, those areas, is that for improvements to the storm
You know,
sanitary?
they just bought that building.
Yes, for the
TIF
community
money.
center,
Yes.
the church, yes.
They're making community centers, so that was not, they've been trying to get grants they thought there were federal grants available, and they haven't been able to secure any of those. But, I mean, they're well aware of the issue, and like all the other groups looking for money, they just haven't found a way to do it yet.
The one, last grant that I knew about was from the Department of Defense. It was a $22 million grant, because they wanted a letter from the school system, so I, wrote a letter of support, and we didn't get it.
I think that was with Princess Lakes Water.
Correct.
So-
And then, follow-up, Judy, on the TIF money, right? I got hit by Brian Gregg, Charles Roberts, and I forget what board member. Who's the lead person on the development?
On Jessica Jones or Ashley Cheney or
I think it was Ashley.
probably.
It was Ashley, yes. So the three of them, I met with them yesterday. So they came, and this is, they really would emphasize this being on the down low, but they are, as a town, they want to put in the Falk cameras. I forget what that stands for, but they're the cameras that, catch license plates and, people going in and out. Well, right now, there's only one, if you go out, on 252 towards Martinsville, there's one there, but those are county cameras, okay? So if someone was to hit someone else's car in the parking lot and drive off, well, they could go ahead and run the cameras and find the plate and locate who it is. Well, they want to be able to triangulate and protect all of Trafalgar, okay? So that one's free, since Johnson County has that, but they'd like to put another one on the other side of 252 going towards Nineveh. They want to put one on 300 South, which that was my recommendation. I said, I want one to south of the school system. And then they were talking about one on Red Gold Road, right there, where you can sort of snake out that way. That way, there's really no way to get out of the town or school system of Trafalgar without one of those access roads. So they wanted and asked what the school system could do to help kick in some money. And I said, that's funny. I said, I asked Jacob Bowman in an email, and I said, Judy Mesnick's on the redevelopment commission, isn't she? Yes, and I go, yeah, but she can't vote, can she? And I'm like.
But I told you, Jacob came up to me at the last meeting.
I know.
And did you bring that up?
Oh, yeah, and I said, it's funny, because I said, Jacob said that, there was a concern about the TIF, and said that, we could probably get about 10, 15K. And I said, no, we're here talking about us helping you with the cameras. I said, I'm happy to do a letter of support for the cameras, but I'm not paying anything. Some of that TIF money you were going to give us, or what Jacob said he can give us, I said, you can use that towards those cameras. I said, I'm not paying you anything. So they agreed that if we wrote a letter of support, I said, I can do that, that's free. We will not pay. Do you understand that you're using the TIF money that was going to be donated in kind back to us? I said, well, I don't know if that's apples to apples, but we can start from here. So I wanted to follow that up because it was perfect timing how that played out, because they wanted about anywhere from, we were haggling anywhere as little as $3,000 up to like $6,000 from us annually, not just one time, but every year. Because you got to pay for the service for this. I said, no, you can take that out of.
So what was the money that they were going to give us from? Where did that?
There's 3 different TIFs.
Yeah.
And so, when they TIF,
So it's going to come out from a piece from all 3 or something,
Yeah.
or one, it doesn't really matter.
but the bottom line is they're taking whatever's in those areas, that tax money is going to, now, the town of Trafalgar. Well, it's not free money, it comes from someone, and that comes from us, the library, the fire department. So we lose that little bit of taxable. Now, they're not big TIFs, so it's not a ton of money. But it's enough to help them, but it is still money that comes off our table. So I said, and then you come and ask us for more money.
I think it's over 200,000 they get each quarter, or biannually or whatever.
I'm sure they said it in your meeting, but it all depends on how big of a TIF they want to advertise. They got to share.
But all the money they had is going toward buying the new community center.
Correct.
So they don't have a pool, they don't have a rainy day anymore.
That's it? All that's just to buy what what are they gonna?
Well, typically, the other things you typically do is build,
They have a farmer's market.
they build roads, you know, like if you need another turn lane.
Well, I know it, they can use it to do anything to improve and to bring.
So
in
right now,
business.
their goal was to start a community center, so they bought that damn church.
And do what with it, just to have someplace for people to go and hold events?
People, the whole event, yeah, community center.
And you can, there, eventually you're gonna be able to rent it for parties and
See if they can put a pool in, that'll make them a lot of money.
I just don't know how that really helps the town of Trafalgar when, to me, from what I hear, there's a lot of other needs for the town, just infrastructure and things like that, that would draw people here. Now granted, I you know, trying to upgrade and add on to a wastewater treatment plant is a lot more than $200,000, and it's a lot of money. Now, you know, I think they're gonna have to try to get some kind of grant or something to help with that, because I mean, you think about that, if they was gonna take the TIF money, I mean, they'd be tipped to death. I mean, we would lose a ton, you know, a ton of money.
So, wanted to share that with you, and understand that this is, you know, in an open meeting, we can talk about it. Of course, we're being streamed as well. So, just so you're aware of that, but, Andrew just confirmed that everything is streaming smoothly, so.
but I know it was before I was on the board, they tried to tip the area north of town, where all the subdivision, I mean, I don't know exactly where it was, but they wanted to add more area to the tipped section, and there was a big protest against that, and I know Joe and Betty Lou Park were involved in that, and Betty Lou was the one who researched that there was supposed to be a school board person on the TIP committee, or RDC committee, and so that's when I went on the board for that. But, yeah, they tried to increase their TIP area, and it met with a lot of objection.
I mean,
Well,
I don't know, I mean, I'm in favor of, you know, I'd like to see the town of Trafalgar grow and prosper and do business and bring people, I mean, maybe easier said than done, I guess. I don't know anything about the town,
it's just,
and the budget.
it's a tight budget, just like we have a tight budget. You know, the TIFs are for identifiable purpose, just like when we do a bond. We have to identify what we're doing the bond for, they have to identify what the TIF's for. So, the community center falls under the identification of what, you know, they're TIFing.
Okay.
So,
Well, and one of the things that they have identified is improvement of the community. So, I mean, that's pretty generic. You can put a lot of things under that.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. So, and honestly, I would say it the same way, if I was in their shoes, just because, you know, you don't know what you're gonna use it for. So, but that's just conversation to throw out there, just so you're aware. But, you know, moving forward, you know, we'll have that set up to where, we had a fender bender, in the front parking lot, and actually, the cameras did pick up whoever did it. So,
Today?
no, not today, this is like the one camera that goes out towards Martinsville. So,
Is that the one right down at Spearsville Road? There's what is that right there? Does anybody know what that is? It's a small, like a 4-inch pole, black pole, and it looks like it has a panel on top of it, a solar panel, and a little something there. It's not a light. I don't know what that is.
I'm not supposed to really share what those are necessarily.
Okay. All right.
That's what I've been told, so.
Okay. Just
Yeah.
curious, I mean, I think we ought to have a right to know. I mean, I don't know, maybe we don't. I
How
don't
many
know.
times we go up in the other room?
Yeah, so.
I tell you, it's not a light.
So,
I think they took the light away from there now. It's pretty dark right there, trying to turn off there.
any other good questions for Jacob or myself? for that matter?
Well, was today, how did it go down here outside of Morgantown, getting around the road closure?
You know, I actually, walking between buildings in the morning, a couple bus drivers I talked to that come from that direction, and, you know, they had it already mapped out where to go, and
Yeah, okay.
it was like, it wasn't a big deal. So, you know, if it just happened, that would have been a problem, but, you know, we were able to plan ahead of time for the routes, so.
John Walker told me that Tim was still here. He said they got notification from NDOT 2 years ago that they were gonna put that tile in and close the road there, and they're just now getting around to it. So,
That's about right.
I mean, it'd been nice to have it done maybe right after school was out and be done when school started. I don't know.
But no, we're able to circumvent that right now.
Okay.
So, it's an inconvenience, obviously, but it's not something that's stopping anything.
I can tell you, there's still a lot of traffic on that road coming in and out of the morning or anytime. You think, well, where's everybody going? Because you can only go just about another mile. I guess they're turning down, what road is that right there, back and going around, coming back out maybe on Sedgwick Road or coming the back way.
Yeah, West Side.
Yeah, west side.
Yeah. Creative driving.
Okay. Other questions?
Thank you, James.
Jennifer?
Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All right, thanks, everyone. Budget hearings, a wrap. Budget workshop, I'm sorry.
Have anybody
Not here.
questioning about the,
Right.
Murphy,